me in studio. And before we get to bargaining issues and teacher issues and your mandate, tell me a little bit about you. How did you follow the journey to become president of the BC Teachers Federation?
Good to be here, Bill. Well, I did my Bachelor of Education in Dalhousie and Halifax, and I was originally from Ontario. And when I finished my B.Ed, I applied all over the Maritimes and all over British Columbia, and I took the first position that was offered to me in Topley. They were looking for a male primary teacher, and that's what I happened to put down on my
male-specific
application, that I wanted to teach primary, and that's what they were looking for, so they hired me, and I came out to Topley in 1977, and that's where I've been ever since. And as a classroom teacher, I knew I got involved in our local union right away, because I, first of all, wanted to know what was going on in terms of education, the union, and politics. And I always knew that the way to improve our conditions that we work in and conditions that students learn in is through the union, through collective bargaining.
But you still maintain a residence in Topley, which, for people who don't know, is west of Prince George. What, about a 2-hour drive?
It's about a 3-hour drive west of Prince George, and I still have my residence there. My wife still lives there. She's a teacher at Decker Lake Elementary, and if I'm lucky, I get to go home 3 or 4 days a month, and I just love when I get the opportunity to get home and be with my wife and also be in the north, because the north grounds me.
Now, the Vancouver Canucks hope that a new voice in the dressing room may change the tone, may change the play. Will a new voice, as the president of the BC Teachers Federation, be in any way better able to deal with what turned out to be a surprising government?
Well, you know, we take we're a very democratic organization, and we represent our members, and our members, through various decision-making bodies, make the decisions that we follow as leaders of the BC Teachers Federation. And I bring positivism, optimism. That's the type of person I am, and also hope. And we have basically the same government back in power. They have a lot of new faces, and we're hoping that we can make that change in terms of trying to develop a relationship with them. We've met with Minister Fassbender once. Look forward to meeting with him again. We've got a call out to the Premier to meet with Premier Clark, and it would be great to meet with her and talk about what our schools and public education needs.
I think if I asked Peter Fassbender, he would describe himself as being a positive person with hope. And he'll be here tomorrow. Can anything be done to bring the two sides together? Because it seems to me for well over a decade, and it's not just the Liberal government, the former NDP government had issues too. The teachers' union seems to have developed a reputation as being one that doesn't bargain well.
Well, our teachers' union, our federation, is a very strong advocate for public education, strong advocate for our students and for our members. And what we've faced in the last 10 or 11 years is what we've been calling a decade of cuts. And we've also faced a lot of bills that we see have basically attacked either our members or attacked public education. We know in this government stripped our collective agreements of important provisions regarding class size, class composition, learning specialist ratios that enable the conditions that our students learn in and the conditions that we work in. And we know that legislation was found to be illegal and unconstitutional in 2002. So I think that sets some of the stage with what we've been dealing with. We know in the last Stats Can report, it shows that our government underfunds to the tune of almost $1,000 per student than the Canadian average. And, that's a gap that we have to close. I mean, British Columbia is just a great place to be in. And we shouldn't have the worst funding in Canada. And we also know that we've got the highest class sizes across Canada. Again, the Stats Canada report shows that we've got the lowest number of teachers, educators per student, which means we've got less teachers working with students in our classrooms than across Canada.
Even with a dramatic drop-off in the number of students?
Absolutely. And through the various economic times, the boom times and the not so good times, other governments found the ability to put more money in. So what we're looking for with this government is, let's get back to a time where we can have actual stable funding, where school boards are guaranteed that they're going to at least get the funding that's needed to provide the services for our students, and that the funding actually keeps up with inflation.
The Premier, I think, surprised a lot of people in the run-up to the election when she talked about trying to forge a 10-year agreement with teachers. Nobody took her too seriously because not many people thought she was going to form the next government. But she did. And now she feels she has a mandate for that 10-year agreement, or at least the pursuit of a 10-year agreement. At the same time, the government's determined to balance its budget. Are those two thoughts not in conflict?
I don't think so. There needs to be a recognition about what priorities this government has, and we believe that public education and our students should be a priority. And they talk about a longer-term agreement. We support a longer-term agreement. We wanted a longer-term agreement in our last round of bargaining, but government through Bill 22 basically imposed a 2-year term on us. We went to the bargaining table in this round looking for a longer-term agreement. We knew that what we call the 10-year scheme was out there in January. Government, through their employers association, had the opportunity to table a longer-term agreement so we can discuss what's needed in that longer term, and it wasn't put on the table at that time. I know they're talking about it, but we also know that any successful round of bargaining takes resources. In 2006, we were able to come to an agreement because there was a will for government. They wanted an agreement, not only with us, but with the other public service unions, and they provided the resources. And so, if this government wants a longer-term agreement, they need to provide the resources so that our members see that there's a fair deal for them, and a deal that also provides increased support services for our students, more one-on-one time.
When you talk about resources, are you talking about smaller classes, more learning assistance, or more money for teachers, or all of the above?
I think it's all of the above in terms of when we talk about resources, it is about funding. The ability to fund smaller class sizes, to have more learning specialist teachers like learning assistance teachers, teacher librarians, teacher counselors, working directly one-on-one with students. That's what we're talking about. And of course, we're also talking about an improvement in salaries. We had 2 zeros legislated to us in the last round of bargaining, and we know we've fallen way behind our colleagues across Canada.
But isn't part of the problem there supply and demand? We're putting out more teachers than we need, so there's no shortage, which makes it more difficult for you to demand higher wages.
Well, I think that what we're talking about is the ability to have more teachers working with students, and I think that's so important. Have more teachers in classrooms working with students, either in a classroom situation or on a more small group one-on-one situation. That's critical for what we believe in. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, and I want what's best for my kids in school, in classrooms, and that's what we want for all our kids in classrooms. So, is it some self-motivation in terms of it's the conditions that we work in that we need to meet the needs of all of our students? Yes, but it's also about, because we care so deeply about our students and we know what it takes to give them the important teaching and learning that they need.
Jim Iker is the new president of the BC Teachers Federation. Talking with Jim Iker, new president of the BC Teachers Federation. Just before I get the calls, your contract is up.
Yes, it is.
End of June, no contract. But no talks.
Yeah, we're back at the bargaining table, hopefully in September. We made a decision, actually both sides made the decision that we would take a natural break, which we usually do when we're bargaining. We felt there was no crisis happening. We weren't gearing up for any kind of job action or strike vote or anything like that. Our plan was just to resume bargaining and hope that we can come to an agreement. We were actually hoping that we could have reached that agreement at the end of June, but the resources weren't there. Then there was all this potential interruptions and disruptions where government wanted the employer to stop being at the bargaining table, which didn't make sense to us. But, we were able to convince them to continue bargaining right to the end of June, and we actually made some progress on some minor issues, which is important, and hopefully we can take that on through when we resume bargaining.